Silence is not weakness, it is power in a world that screams for attention. Silence is a rare form of strength. We live in a society that teaches us to talk, to argue, to prove and to defend. But sometimes the most intelligent thing you can do is to say nothing. You can do is to say nothing. Silence is a strategy, a way to observe more, learn deeply and protect your energy. Silence is often misunderstood. In a world that values volume, presence, and noise, silence is easily mistaken for submission or lack of power. But true strength lies in the ability to remain calm and quiet, especially when provoked. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the restraint of power. It's knowing you can speak, act, or retaliate, but choosing not to. That choice requires more strength than most realize, strength than most realize. When you're silent, you're not running away, you're not giving up. You're simply refusing to be dragged into chaos that doesn't deserve your energy. Silence isn't always passive. It's deliberate. It's the ability to keep your peace while others lose theirs. That's strength. It's the quiet confidence that tells the world, I don't need to prove anything to you. There's a powerful self-awareness that comes from silence. When you're silent, you turn inward. You begin to understand your emotions, your thoughts, your triggers. That inner work builds a foundation of self-control and emotional intelligence. The stronger you become on the inside, the less you'll feel the need to react to everything on the outside. And that's what strength really is. Control over self. Most people speak to be validated. They talk to be noticed, to be liked, to be understood. But a strong person doesn't crave validation from others. They already know who they are. They let their character and their actions speak for them. Silence, in this case, becomes a language of certainty. A person who's silent in the face of doubt or criticism is often the one most secure in themselves. Silence also allows you to respond with wisdom instead of emotion. Strength isn't about having the loudest voice in the room. It's about knowing when to use it and when to stay quiet. Sophie. When you're silent, you have time to think, to analyze, and to respond with purpose instead of reacting impulsively. That kind of restraint is a rare and powerful form of inner strength. Even in conflict, silence can be more impactful than shouting. Fourth, a silent look, a calm demeanor, or a lack of reaction can disarm someone faster than any words. Throughout history, the strongest leaders, thinkers, and visionaries have mastered the art of silence. They didn't speak unless their words carried meaning. They understood that silence creates space to think, to plan, to lead. It's in this space that power grows, because you're not wasting energy trying to prove anything. You're simply building quietly and strategically. The more you grow in life, the more you realize you don't need to announce every move, react to every opinion, or explain every choice. Silence becomes your shield. It protects your mind, your focus, and your growth. It's not that you're incapable of speaking up. It's that you're choosing to wait until it matters most. And that is the mark of true strength. Reacting is easy. It's impulsive, emotional, and often loud. But observation takes discipline. It requires you to step back, detach from your ego, and pay close attention to what's really happening around you. In silence, you gain the ability to observe, not just what is said, but what is meant. Not just what people do, but why they do it. This awareness gives you power that raw reaction never could. When you choose observation over reaction, you start to see patterns. People reveal more in silence than they do with words. You'll begin to notice tone, body language, inconsistencies, and hidden intentions. The ones who talk the most usually reveal the least, but the ones who stay quiet and watch, they understand everything. The observer sees beyond the surface. Reacting immediately to every comment, insult, or situation blinds you. You become a puppet to your emotions, unable to process clearly. But the one who observes keeps their power intact. They choose when, how, and if they should respond. How? They are no longer moved by noise. They are anchored in clarity. Observation is a mental shield, protecting you from jumping into battles that don't deserve your energy. Think about how much you miss when you're too busy reacting. You don't hear what's truly being said. You don't see the full picture. You don't pick up on the subtle details that often reveal the truth. But when you slow down, remain silent, and watch truth has a way of showing itself, you gain insight that the reactive mind can never reach. In relationships, observation helps you understand people on a deeper level, Tor level. Instead of responding to every mood or word, you study them. You learn how they move, what triggers them, what matters to them. This gives you the upper hand, not for manipulation, but for maturity. Zodasi. It builds stronger relationships because your responses are no longer guesses. They are grounded in understanding. In business, observation can be the difference between success and failure. While others rush to impress or defend their ideas, the observer studies the room. They notice who has influence, who pretends to have power, who's actually listening, and who's simply waiting to speak. These silent insights allow for calculated moves that can shift outcomes in your favor. Observation isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing the right thing at the right time. At the right time. Reacting is fast and messy. Observation is slow and wise. It doesn't mean you let everything slide. It means you gather the facts. Study the situation and strike with precision when necessary. It turns you into a strategist, not just a survivor. The longer you observe without reacting, the more people reveal themselves. You'll realize that many arguments are invitations to chaos. Many comments are traps for your attention, and many confrontations are fueled by ego, not truth. The one who observes doesn't fall into these traps. They see them from a distance, stay grounded, and move only when the time is right. Silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's the presence of control. When you embrace silence, you're training your mind to resist the urge to speak, to defend, or to lash out. That resistance builds mental discipline. It teaches you how to stay centered when emotions rise. Discipline isn't about doing what feels good in the moment. It's about choosing what serves your growth in the long run. Silence is one of the best ways to develop that inner control. Most people are slaves to their emotions. The moment they feel anger, they speak it. The moment they feel insecure, they overcompensate. But silence teaches you to pause, to breathe, to choose your response instead of being dragged around by your feelings. That gap between impulse and action, that space created by silence, is where discipline is formed. When you practice silence, you're not just avoiding noise, you're teaching your brain to prioritize stillness over stimulation. We live in a world full of distractions, arguments, and constant reactions. Silence pulls you out of that cycle and forces you to sit with your thoughts. It trains your mind to be okay with stillness, which is where focus, clarity, and resilience are built. There's something powerful about not needing to say the last word. It shows maturity. It shows that you value peace over proving a point. This restraint doesn't come naturally. It must be developed. Every time you choose to be quiet when you could be loud, you're building a layer of discipline that makes you mentally tougher than you were yesterday. Mental discipline also means mastering your reactions to provocation. Anyone can speak out of anger. Anyone can shout back. But it takes mental strength to stay calm in the storm. Silence forces you to sit with the discomfort of holding your tongue. And in that discomfort, your tolerance expands. You learn not to let every comment affect you. That's how mental endurance is built. In the silence, your mind learns to observe without attaching emotion to everything. You develop the strength to hear criticism without crumbling, to face disrespect without responding in kind. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you unshakable. The person who doesn't need to react is the person who cannot be controlled. That's the kind of strength silence cultivates. Over time, the discipline you gain from silence spills into every area of your life. You become more thoughtful in your decisions, more measured in your emotions, more deliberate in your actions. This mental discipline helps you set boundaries, maintain focus, and stay true to your goals. Silence isn't about shrinking, it's about sharpening. It's preparation for a higher level of life. And perhaps the greatest test of mental discipline is not in remaining silent during peace, but during conflict. When your pride is under attack, when you're misunderstood, when you're challenged, that's when silence becomes the ultimate strength. It proves that your mind leads your emotions, not the other way around. And that kind of discipline is what separates the reactive from the powerful. In a world full of talkers, be a doer. Let your work echo louder than your words ever could. Many people spend more time announcing what they're going to do than actually doing it. But silence, followed by results, is far more powerful than any promise made out loud. When you let your results speak, you don't need to convince anyone of your value. Your actions do that for you, effortlessly. There's something magnetic about people who stay low-key but deliver big. They don't need applause. They don't chase attention. They just show up, put in the work, and let success do the talking. Results have a voice of their own, and it's one that can't be ignored. The louder your results become, the less you have to explain yourself. When you stay silent and focus on progress, you remove the distractions that come with constant validation seeking. Every time you talk about your goals before you've achieved them, you invite unnecessary pressure, opinions, and sometimes even envy. But when you move in silence, you stay aligned with your purpose, not people's expectations. You give yourself the space to grow without interference. Results are undeniable. People can argue with your ideas, mock your dreams, or doubt your abilities, but they cannot argue with achievement. When the results are in front of them, the conversation changes. The critics grow quiet. The doubters rethink. The silence you kept while building becomes the reason you're now being heard without saying a word. Letting your results speak teaches patience and persistence. It requires you to fall in love with the process, not the performance. Performance. You learn to value growth that isn't always seen but is always happening. Silent work is sacred. It's where you refine your skills, build your character, and shape the future you're walking toward. It's where true transformation begins, when nobody's watching. Sometimes people talk to cover up a lack of progress. But if you're truly making moves, you don't have time to talk about them. You're too busy building, too busy evolving, too busy doing the very things others only speak of. And that difference, that quiet grind, puts you in a league of your own. Calm. It separates the dreamers from the doers. When you let your results speak, you also build credibility. People begin to respect your name because it's attached to outcomes, not empty words. Your silence becomes a statement. It tells the world, I don't need to announce every step. I'm too focused on the destination. That type of reputation opens doors that noise never could. You don't need to defend your worth to anyone. Your consistency will do that. Your growth will do that. Your results will do that. Over time, those who doubted you will realize that you never needed their approval. You just needed time. Silence paired with action becomes the most powerful language you can speak. Your energy is your most valuable currency. Where you invest it determines the quality of your thoughts, your peace, and ultimately, your life. Every time you react to something that doesn't deserve your attention, you're spending your energy on something that gives you nothing back. Silence is the boundary. It's the invisible fence that protects your mental, emotional, and spiritual reserves from being drained by things that don't serve your purpose. People will test you. They will provoke you, misunderstand you, and try to pull you into their chaos. But not every insult deserves a comeback. Not every situation requires your involvement. Silence allows you to protect yourself from the trap of over-explaining, defending, or engaging in arguments that only deplete your peace. By staying silent, you reclaim the power to decide what's worth your energy. Think of your energy as a bank account. Every unnecessary argument, every emotional reaction, every word spoken in frustration is a withdrawal. Over time, you'll find yourself emotionally bankrupt if you don't learn to pause. Silence becomes your savings account. It stores up patience, wisdom, and inner strength. The less you react, the more you retain. In silence, you begin to realize how many things are not worth your reaction. You start to see that most people don't want clarity. They want control. Most arguments aren't about understanding. They're about dominance. And when you engage with that energy, you're not just wasting time. You're sacrificing your own peace. Silence cuts that cycle before it begins. Social media, conversations, and even relationships can be energy traps. Everyone wants to be heard, but few are listening. Everyone wants to be right, but few want to understand. Worse, few want to understand. If you don't learn to protect your energy with silence, you'll be caught in a loop of constant reaction, always drained and never grounded. Silence, however, allows you to detach from the noise and reconnect with yourself. Silence teaches you to pick your battles. Deksta sir. Not every comment deserves your truth. Not every question needs your answer. When you stay silent, you give yourself time to evaluate. Is this worth it? Is this feeding my peace or robbing it? That level of emotional intelligence sets you apart. It shows maturity. It shows strength. It shows strength. And most importantly, it protects your inner world from outside chaos. Protecting your energy doesn't mean shutting down. It means choosing wisely. It's not about avoiding people or problems, but about approaching them from a place of control, not compulsion. When you use silence as a filter, you begin to move with intention, not reaction. You speak when it matters. You act when it's necessary. You respond when it serves your peace, not your pride. Over time, silence transforms your space. You'll notice less drama, fewer distractions, and more alignment. You'll begin to attract people and experiences that match your calm, not your chaos. And it all starts with one simple decision: to protect your energy by choosing silence over noise, peace over provocation, stillness over stress. When you share your plans too soon, you expose them to energies, opinions, and distractions that can weaken their foundation. Silence serves as a shield. It keeps your goals tucked away, protected from outside noise. The fewer people who know what you're building, the fewer obstacles they can place in your path, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Your silence is your security system. Many people talk about their dreams because they crave validation. They want support, encouragement, or attention. But that hunger for approval can be dangerous. When you constantly broadcast your plans, you invite unnecessary feedback, criticism, and even envy. Not everyone who hears your vision wants to see it succeed. Silence keeps your mission focused and guarded. There's power in privacy. The more you keep to yourself, the more you protect the purity of your process. Plans grow best in quiet places, where they can develop without pressure, where mistakes can be made without judgment, and where you can evolve without distraction. Silence gives your plans space to breathe and take form before the world gets to see them. Positive. Talking too much about what you will do can trick your brain into feeling like you've already done it. It creates a false sense of progress. You feel rewarded for the idea rather than the execution. But when you stay silent, that pressure turns inward and becomes fuel. It pushes you to act, not just imagine. Silence makes sure your plans remain in motion, not just in conversation. Silence also keeps your intentions pure. When no one knows your next move, you're not tempted to impress anyone or prove anything. You do it because it matters to you. You stay aligned with your own values and desires, not shaped by what others expect or assume. That kind of internal alignment gives your goals strength and direction that outside validation can never provide. Every plan has its fragile stages. The beginning is vulnerable, yet turned. The foundation is still forming. Sharing too early can expose your ideas to fear, doubt, and sabotage, sometimes even from the people closest to you. But when you keep quiet, you give yourself time to grow strong enough to withstand that resistance. Silence becomes the buffer between your dreams and the world's opinions. When the time is right, your results will speak for you. Until then, your plans deserve the protection of silence. Let them develop in the dark like seeds in soil, undisturbed, nourished, and secure. There's wisdom in waiting, and there's discipline in keeping things to yourself. Your silence becomes the womb where your vision matures before it enters the world. By keeping your plans to yourself, you also give yourself the freedom to change direction without judgment. You can pivot, refine, or restart without feeling like you failed someone else's expectations. That creative freedom is a gift of silence. It's not secrecy, it's strategy. It's not hiding, it's honoring the process in private until it's strong enough to stand in public. When you choose to be silent, you unlock a deeper level of listening. Most people listen to reply, not to understand. But when you're not preparing your next line, not interrupting, not proving your point, you begin to truly hear what others are saying. Silence shifts your focus outward. It sharpens your attention. And it teaches you how to listen beneath the words, where the truth often hides. Speaking less creates space. It allows others to reveal more, sometimes more than they realize. People naturally fill silence, often exposing their true feelings, fears, or intentions when you simply allow them to talk. You'll hear not just what they say, but how they say it. Their tone, hesitation, inconsistencies, and the emotions between the lines become crystal clear when you're quiet enough to notice. The less you speak, the more power you gain in conversations. While others are rushing to get their point across, you're collecting data about who they are, what they want, what they fear, and what drives them. This gives you an advantage, not for manipulation, but for awareness. The quiet observer often understands the full picture, while everyone else is focused on their own voices. Listening more also reveals the truth about your environment. You begin to notice who talks just to be heard and who speaks with purpose. You'll learn who gossips, who encourages, who lies, and who listens back. This kind of awareness gives you clarity about the people around you. And clarity leads to better decisions about who deserves your trust, time, and energy. Speaking less helps you hear yourself, too. In silence, your thoughts get louder. You become more aware of your instincts, your intuition, and the voice of wisdom within. Constant talking drowns that out. But when you practice silence, you start to hear the answers you've been searching for outside. You reconnect with your own clarity, your own values, your own truth. You also become more emotionally intelligent when you listen more. You hear people's emotions instead of just their words. You begin to sense when someone's hurting. Even if they're smiling, you pick up on frustration, joy, doubt, and authenticity in ways that most people miss. This ability to listen on a deeper level strengthens your relationships and helps you connect more meaningfully. When you're not constantly speaking, you don't give away unnecessary information either. You remain mysterious, unpredictable. You maintain control over what others know about you. And that silence becomes part of your power. People become curious about what you're thinking, what you're planning, and who you really are. You don't need to speak to make an impact. Sometimes your silence says everything. Lastly, when you speak less and listen more, you start to learn more about the world, about people, and about life. Not life. Everyone has a lesson to teach, but you can only receive it when you're quiet enough to hear it. Silence makes you a student of life. It makes you humble enough to learn and wise enough to grow. And that humility, that awareness, becomes the foundation of your evolution in the midst of constant movement. Stillness feels like a luxury. But it's not. It's a necessity. Stillness is where peace begins. It's in the quiet moments when the world slows down that you reconnect with yourself. Noise distracts you. Busyness keeps you running in circles. But stillness grounds you. It brings you back to your center, where peace and clarity naturally live. Most of the confusion in life doesn't come from not knowing. It comes from not pausing long enough to hear the answer. Stillness gives your mind a chance to breathe. When everything else gets quiet, your inner voice speaks up. The truth becomes clearer. What once felt complicated starts to make sense. Stillness doesn't create clarity. He seals it. It was always there, hidden beneath the noise. We often think productivity comes from constant action, but real power lies in being still and strategic. You don't have to move just to prove you're progressing. Stillness is not stagnation. It's observation, forgation. It's when you slow down enough to see the patterns, recognize the lessons, and choose your next step with intention, not impulse. In that pause, life becomes less reactive and more purposeful. Peace isn't found in escaping chaos. It's found in not letting chaos control you. Stillness helps you master that. It teaches you that you don't have to match the energy around you. You can be the calm in the storm. You can breathe when everyone else is panicking. That calm is a choice, and stillness is the doorway that leads to it. When you practice stillness regularly, you begin to live from a place of awareness rather than anxiety. You're no longer chasing peace. You are peace. You're no longer searching for clarity. You become clear. The world may stay loud and fast, but you no longer feel the need to match its pace. Your power comes from presence, and presence is born in stillness. Stillness also teaches you patience. In a world addicted to instant results, the one who can wait without losing their peace holds a rare strength. You start to realize that not everything needs to be rushed. That sometimes silence and stillness are more productive than effort and noise. It's in the waiting where the strongest roots are formed. In stillness, you rediscover simplicity. You realize how much of life's stress is self created, born out of overthinking, overcommitting, over explaining, and over explaining. Stillness strips all that away. It brings you back to what really matters. It silences the distractions and amplifies your priorities. What's left is clarity. You see what you need, what you don't, and what you must release to move forward in peace. And the more time you spend in stillness, the more you realize peace isn't a place you visit. It's a state you choose. It's always available, waiting behind the noise of your thoughts and the chaos of the world. When you sit in silence without needing to speak or solve or control, you begin to feel it, that inner quiet, that deep knowing, that unshakable calm.